So for me, it was when I was working at the Highway Patrol.
Yep.
Some pretty bad management and bullying, and as I said earlier, like there was 3 fatals in particular.
Okay.
One of them was a multiple fatality, and as I said earlier, there's things that I saw previously that were a lot more gory or confronting, and they don't register a mention in my mind.
Yeah. Yep.
I can recall them, and talking about them doesn't upset me or anything. And then I look at these 3 fatals, like, yeah, people say, oh, it's still serious, somebody died. But
Yeah, of course, yeah.
but those 3 were quite, as I said, it seems funny to use the word sterile, but they were quite tame, maybe, compared to some of the other things I'd seen. But going through the bullying at the same time, and then seeing these 3, one of them, like, I'd put my hand up and, like, privately, like, I admitted that I wasn't doing well.
Yep.
So I went and saw one of the Vic Pol psychologists.
Okay.
And then I did that on shift. And that afternoon, a couple of hours after the psych appointment, I went to a fatality and was walking around a dead body for hours, taking measurements, helping with photos, all that sort of stuff. And straight away, you know that you're already feeling raw, because there was stuff with the psychologist that I just had to get out, like, with things that were sort of sitting on my chest that I just had to get out. And then straight after that, you go to a fatality, and yeah, it got diagnosed with PTSD around that time.
Okay.
And had my first lot of time off work. It wasn't really made clear to me what was wrong with me and what I needed.
Yep.
So I sort of just went back to work and thought, well, I need to transfer out of that office and go elsewhere.
Yep.
As you said, like, that cup as it fills up, and it's just cumulative. Like, the traumas just stack up, and I think early on, if there had been some sort of early intervention, things might have taken a different path. I had a couple of times where I had periods off work due to my mental health, and was medicated for a substantial amount of time for the last few years I was working. And you sort of think, how could things have been different if somebody actually helped you early on?
Yeah.
And as, like, you start to feel a bit better, so you go back to work, and then the traumas start to pile up.
Yeah.
So then you take more time off work.
Yeah.
Then you think you're well again.
Yeah.
And that's how it went for me. And yeah, it got to the point where came close to committing suicide while I was at work with my firearm.
Yep.
So yeah, it when you look at, like, I came very close, and when you look at that and think, and even shortly before that, I'd put my hand up and said I was struggling, and then even shortly after that, I told one of the work psychologists that I'd done that.
Okay.
And I should have been pulled off the road. I shouldn't have been allowed to go back out on the road.
Yeah.
But nothing was done. I was told to take the rest of the week off, and then I was back at work after admitting that, how low I was. And when you can make that sort of admission to somebody that, aside from the fact that like they work for VicPol, they've also got like a duty of care because they're a psychologist.
Yeah.
The fact that you can tell them that and they do nothing, you sort of think, well, where do I go now? And family and everything knew sort of what had happened and were begging me not to keep going to work and to put in a work cover claim. But you just think, well, I've already told them that I came close to ending my life.
Yeah.
And they didn't take it seriously. So you think, well, what's putting in a work cover claim going to do?
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. And you get to that point and you sort of think, well, nobody wants to help me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was tough.
With regards to the suicide thing, we all know how big it is in VicPol and in policing and emergency services.
Yep.
It's overrepresented. Did you feel you couldn't get help?
I think after putting my hand up and saying that I wasn't right and then not getting help, even though like made full admissions to a psychologist about what had happened, you sort of think, well, I've got a mortgage to pay, I've got bills. If I'm not working, how am I going to pay that? Like what am I going to do? And it's very isolating. I've done a lot of work on my mental health with psychologists, psychiatrists, inpatient stays, outpatient programs, and one thing, like I remember always thinking when I was younger, like I had people who'd commit suicide that I knew, and you always have people talk about what a selfish act it is.
Yep, heard that before.
And my psychiatrist that I've been seeing for a long time now, the thing he said to me about talking to him about suicide, what he told me was that nothing I could tell him would scare him.
Right.
That I could tell him anything and it wasn't going to scare him. And that suicide will end your pain.
Yes.
But your pain is transferred into everybody who cares about you.
Yep.
So your pain and suffering ends at that moment. You'll no longer suffer.
Yep.
And I think thinking about that from that sort of viewpoint, like even when I had some really dark times after that, I was always of the thought that, well, my parents, their life's going to be shit. Family and close friends and that sort of stuff, it's going to be shit for them. And so each time, like there's a few times after that you sort of get close some days. And I try and keep reminding myself of that, and I think that it kept me safe.
Oh, that's good.
So, and I think that was very, very valuable advice. And I think if somebody comes to you and tells you that they're just feeling really low, just let them know that they can tell you whatever they need to. And you're there to listen and not necessarily there to do something, or you're like, no, we have to go and do this, you're just there to listen first.
Yeah.
Because sometimes just telling somebody about it can be enough.
Yeah, and I'm assuming that it's pretty obvious to me that no one ever said that to you. Or not the right people, especially.
No.
The people that you're supposed to be able to rely on, being your bosses.
Yeah.
Yep. Look, again, I'm assuming that the bullying, and I don't need names, but came from above, wasn't from...
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So these are the people that are supposed to protect you.
Yeah.
And support you and guide you, that type of thing.
That's the thing, once you've been in the job for a few years, like, you don't need to be managed. Yeah. Like, you don't need to be told what to do every day. You're pretty self-sufficient and you're able to be relied upon. And there's no need for somebody to tell you every day what you need to do or how you need to do things. And it's just like, just a little bit of support, like even once a month or something, to say, how you doing?
Yeah.
Is there anything you need? Like something just as, I mean, it can even seem tokenistic to be asked that, but it's better than nothing.
Absolutely.
Like,
I
it's
agree.
better than nothing. The longest period I was off work for, while I was still working, was 5.5 months.
Okay.
And the only phone call I got from management was 2 weeks before I went back to work. And that phone call was just to say, Gutters, you're running out of leave. What do you plan to do? Are you coming back to work or are you going to resign? And I was like, well, fuck, I guess I got to come back to work then, because I don't have any leave and I need to remain employed. I remember trying to get a return to work plan so I could just go back to work slowly.
Yeah.
And when I had to organise that myself. There was like, nobody cared. So I rang and I'm like, do I need to do a return to work? And they're like, oh, well, your file has been allocated to whoever the person was. They're on 2 weeks leave. They'll organise it when they get back. And I was like, but I'm ringing because I'm like trying to get back to work, and you're telling me just give it another couple of weeks, and I've just received a call to say I've run out of leave. Right, so it's like, oh well, go to the doctor, get him to sign a certificate that says I'm capable of full duties, and straight back to it full time.
Far out.
And yeah, but it's when a lot of the stuff you're off work for is because of management, and then 5 months you're off work, you get a phone call at the end of 5 months to say, hey, you're running out of leave, you come back to work. You go, well, that sort of confirms the reason why I'm off work.
Yeah, so there's no, are you okay? How are you going? Home visit?
No.
Nothing.
And you've been off work like 5 months. It's a long time. Nobody cared. And obviously you weren't missed. Like, at no point are they like, oh, we need to try and get him back. It was just like, he's not here. We don't have to worry about it. We'll wait and see what he wants to do. If he wants to pull the pin, he pulls the pin.
Yeah.
And you just go, you realise that you are, the reason they give you a number is because you are just a number sometimes.
Yeah.
Even hearing friends in the last couple of years, like the last 2 to 3 years, who are now off work and are sort of getting close to retirement, and they're telling the same story as I am.
Yeah, how does that make you feel? That I suppose that things in your mind haven't changed.
Nothing's changed, yeah.
Out of something really terrible, you've grown as a person.
Yeah.
Okay? You have bad days. I know how many tablets you take.
Yeah.
I've been away with you.
Yeah.
We talk about stuff. I know when sometimes you're all good.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're just shit.
Yeah.
Right? And I fucking feel for you. But the good thing is, for me, I know that I can come to you.
Yeah.
And I have.
Yeah.
Even if it's just to ride next to you on a motorbike.
Yeah.
Knowing that you're just there.
Yeah.
We don't have to talk sometimes. Sometimes we do.
Yeah. That's all it takes sometimes too.
And that's exactly right.
And that's one thing, like I'm more than happy to do it for anyone I know. Be there and just sit there and listen and talk to them.
Yeah.
But it's, as much as like I'm like, oh, well, I'm proud that they want to come to me and they want to sit and talk with me. But it's sad to think that the person, sometimes the one person they talk to, or the small handful of people that they talk to, are members who are broken and who are out of the job a lot of the time because they were so broken, and that's who is supporting that member who's still in the job and who really, really need support, but the only support they're getting is people who have already been through it.
Yeah.
And it's very polarising to think of it like that.
Yeah.
As much as I wouldn't change it, I'd never say it's Vic Pole's responsibility. I don't want to hear it. you still have that in the back of your head, though. You're like, somebody in there should be helping these people.
Yeah.
But they're not. Like, you might not even want to talk about the problems at all. You might just want somebody to distract you from it that day.
Am I broken, or am I just sick? Have you spoken to anyone about it? Lonely from the fighting. Are you broken?